Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me now? Great. On behalf of the Adirondack Trust Company, Board of Directors, and our staff, I'd like to welcome you all to our 2016 Cornerstone event. We are pleased that you have decided to join us at this historic event and are excited to share with you what we found in the time capsule that was placed in the Cornerstone in June 1960. My name is RJWheatonJr, and I'm the Executive Vice President of the Adirondack Trust. Today you will hear from Mr. Charles V. Wheaton, Chairman and CEO of the Adirondack Trust Company, and two directors whose families go back to the bank since the very beginning. I'd like to introduce Mr. Mabey, who joined the board in 1982 and whose family was one of the founders of the bank. Mr. Mabey.
The only reason I have been given a few minutes to talk today is fortunate to me. Better? Yeah. Okay. A little history, briefly. My great-grandfather was Douglas Williams Mabey. He was born in Brooklyn and married Florence West, the daughter of George West of Boston Spa. Douglas managed many of the West paper mills on the Ross, was for a time Boston Village Mayor, Boston Spa's Village Mayor, and President of the National Bank of Boston Spa. He had many other business interests as well. His name was on the original paperwork of the Adirondack Trust Company was incorporated, a copy of which is in this file. He was one of four landlords of the entity that built this building here in 1916. And as you know, or some of you know, I spent a lot of time studying my family history intertwined with current events of the time. Much of the time is spent with other like-minded friends that are working together to keep our history alive and relevant. The desire of our ancestors to have the freedom to choose for themselves where to live, what religion to practice, what crops to plant, or who would speak for them in government is no different today than it was 200 or 400 years ago. This cornerstone, the contents of the box within, beautiful buildings in front, testament to the same ideals, fortitude, and vision of recent ancestors and friends held. Today, 100 years after words written to us were typed, the same thoughts, feelings, and emotions are felt. 1916 was not a lot different than today. And to illustrate, I will give you a few examples of the similarity of 1916 to 2016. Sports were still of great interest. In fact, the first Rose Bowl was held on January 1 in Washington State, beating Brown University 14-0. The first Professional Golf Association tournament was played in 1916. The first Women's Swimming Championship was held, and the 20th Boston Marathon was won in 2 hours, 27 minutes, 16 seconds, and 4/10. Wiggum Field opened in Chicago. It's now called Wrigley Field. Some of you may have heard of that. In October, Georgia Tech, coached by John Heisman, defeated Cumberland in the most lopsided victory in college history, 222-0. The arts were in the news as well. The Baltimore Orchestra performed for the first time, and Charlie Chaplin signed a major contract with Mutual. Anybody heard of Mutual? World War I was in full swing. Germany was dropping bombs on England and France with Zeppelin. The Battle of Verdun was fought, and the Germans were torpedoing our merchant fleets. America was threatening to enter the war, while our southern border was being encroached upon by Pancho Villa. He raided Columbus, New Mexico that summer. The Marines invaded the Dominican Republic and stayed there until 1924. Woodrow Wilson went to the St. Louis Democratic Convention in June and campaigned on the slogan, "He kept us out of the war." November 1, the first female representative was elected to Congress. On June 29th, 100 years ago tomorrow, Boeing flew its first aircraft. Later that summer, Coca-Cola introduced the current formula. and the first supermarket came to pass, and it was Piggly Wiggly. Anybody heard of Piggly Wiggly? Also that summer, National Park Service was formed, and in September, John D. Rockefeller became the world's first billionaire. Hopefully, the words that are written in the box you'll hear about more today will still ring true 100 years from today. I am incredibly proud to be standing here today with my son. Trying to find a parking place, I believe. There we go. Come up here for a second. Douglas is the 5th generation, and the 5th Douglas, and that is Douglas with 2 S's. This is Douglas Timothy. He, along with many other founding families, will be amazed and proud of this fine institution as it continues to serve this very special city. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you very much.
Next to speak is Mr. Allardyce, who joined the board in 1996, and whose grandfather, William Wallace Allardyce, was on the board when the Times capsule was placed in the cornerstone. Mr. Allardyce.
Right on. Right on.
Here we go. I'm very pleased and honored to be serving on this board for the 100th anniversary of the program.
Right into it.
Turn it up, folks. Turn it up. After college, I worked for New York State DOT as a computer programmer for 16 years. When I quit to follow my dream, not just business, but also learning this wonderful time. I served for 20 years on the Saratoga Planning Board. I've been on this board for 20 years. And I still own the grandfather shares of this bank and the home for over 105 Circular Street in 1892. I also invested in another building in Saratoga Street. I think myself as building supply and try to apply the same values as they want to make husbands. Honesty, integrity, great customer service, and support the community living. The business could not have started or grown without the help and understanding of the Adirondack system.
Turn it up! And now I'd like to introduce my father, Charles B. Wheaton, Chairman and CEO of the Adirondack Trust Company.
Starting with the
stop talking is more important than knowing when to start talking, isn't it? First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out. I'm really amazed, although I shouldn't be, because we had quite a good team putting this together. Rob Ward, when I first talked about doing this celebration, I said to Rob, you're going to have succeeded if you have more people here for the opening of the box than were here for the planting of the box. And he succeeded. You can see the picture, it's quite clearly that way. I know your interest, what you really came out was not to see any of us or hear any of us, but you want to know what's in the box. And we're going to still torture you a little bit before we get to that. The first thing I want to say is how proud I am. First of my family, my wife Candace, who's here, and my children. Charles Jr. and daughter Alexandra, whose name comes from Alexander Dallas Wheaton, who is the progenitor of our life. My mother, Jane Wheaton. Who rejuvenated the Yaddo Rose Gardens and also had so much to do with the beginnings of SPAC. And it's always dangerous when you mention people because I'm not going to leave somebody else out, and I apologize in advance for doing that. But I want to mention David Wheaton, who's sitting here with his wife Joan Wheaton, because David's father was also on the board of the Adirondack landlord when he was a young man. We're around for David Wheaton. And last but not least, Minnie Bolster, and everybody knows Minnie Bolster. Thanks so much for making the effort to come out. I'm going to read to you, as my speech, the letter that I'm placing into the cornerstone. A century ago, almost to the day, Senator Edgar T. Brackett placed a letter in the cornerstone of the Adirondack Trust Company building at 473 Broadway, addressed to the future board of directors of the bank 100 years hence. In this era of flash trading, hedge funds, corporate raiders, mergers and acquisitions, financial innovation and destruction, it seems quaint to us that anyone would believe that an institution outside of government could survive intact for that long a period of time. When he penned his letter, the world was engulfed in World War I, the war to end all wars. Since then, there has been World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, several wars in Afghanistan, and police actions too numerous to list here. Since then, we have seen inflation rates as high as 19.7% and as low as minus 0.2%. We have experienced unemployment rates as high as 23.6% and as low as 1.2%. At the time this marble edifice was built, Saratoga itself was on the brink of a long period of decline that lasted until the 1980s, brought about by changing travel and vacation patterns in the United States. When Brackett wrote his letter, there was no radar, no television, no penicillin, no antibiotics, no Air Force, and no computers. But there was thoroughbred racing, and there was the Adirondack Trust Company. At the same desk, in the same spot where Senator Brackett sat, Charles S. Van Dusen, Newman E. Wheat Jr., Charles V. Wheat, and Stephen Von Schenck have each taken their turns. Since the White Marble Bank was first opened for business in 1916, assets have grown from $3 million to over $1.1 billion. And yet, the banking floor still continues to conduct business essentially the contract should be obeyed, not only in this letter, but in the spirit, and that they manage the company not only for the proper purpose of making money for the stockholders, but also for the development of the communities in which they do business, and to be a continuing example of high dealing to all who come in contact with them. I'm confident that if these tenets of fair dealing and honest behavior are followed, this company will prosper for yet another 100 years. Thank you. One more thing I'd like to add, and you heard Wally Allardyce speak and you heard Tim Mabey speak, but it would be impossible to have a company last this long if you didn't have stockholders who understood the importance of longevity in institutions. And those two gentlemen and their families have been long and loyal supporters of the Adirondack Trust Company, and we would not have the Adirondack Trust Company without them. Thank you. Okay, now the goodies. So what did we find? First of all, it took stonemasons 3 days. They estimated they'd be out in 5 or 6 hours. It took them 3 days to extract the time capsule. So I'd like to give my round of applause to any of the masons. I know everybody are here, but they did a great job. Dean Legion from the bank oversaw that work. Dean, great job. You're here someplace. Where are you, Dean?
Right here, right here.
Thank you. And our archivist, Peter Hamill, has done long time work for us on this project. So Peter, thank you as well. So that's interesting because there were, I think, 9 employees in the bank, Peter. We now have 250. And their handwriting was legible. I hasten to think, but I really think if our employees all signed their signature, we would be able to read one of them. The other thing that's a little curious, and everybody has ideas, let us know. There was a list of the board of directors with their signatures next to it. But less than half of the list of directors actually signed the paper. So we're curious as to why half of them, although the board did not sign the paper. We found a lot of currency and bills of very little value, at least very little monetary value. There were some Civil War coins in the box, one of which was quite interesting. On one side it had the American flag, and it said, "The flag of our Union." And on the other side it said, "If anyone takes this down, shoot them on the spot." And that was legal tender at least in the northern states. There's a Columbian $50 in there. There's some fractional currency, which I knew nothing about, but fractional currency was during the Civil War. They couldn't use precious metals for coinage because they needed for armaments. They couldn't use the copper and steel for pennies and dimes. So they issued at first postage stamps to represent 5 cents and 10 cents, and then later on they issued this fractional currency. Peter's going to hold up a piece of that. We found a charter of the village of Saratoga Springs dated 1857 maybe. I think that's fairly rare, but Victoria Garland, who's here, would be able to tell us more about that. Thanks for coming, Victoria. And we found newspapers, another one dated 1846, and then 2 Saratogians from the 1960s. We found a handwritten statement, the very first statement of the bank, and handwritten. It was about $250,000 in assets. And then there was a 1916 statement which showed the bank had attained the $3 million, which was the amount that the directors said they would need to attain before they built a new building. I think that's pretty much it. What we're going to put into the box. Anything else I should mention, Peter, you think? Yeah, those will be interesting to read when we get them open. So we're going to put in, when we get we're having the new time capsule built, and it will be 3 weeks before it's built. But we're putting in a visitor's guide written by Field Horn. We're putting in a digital copy of the bank statement on the 100th anniversary of the bank. We're putting in one of the Saratoga National Historic coins, the silver coins, the big one, 5-ounce coins. Various other, my letter, a couple of copies of the Saratoga, and pictures of the bank. I was talking to Mark Mulholland earlier today, and he said something interesting, which I'll finish up with. And he asked me, what do you think was the biggest change if the directors from 100 years ago could look at the bank today? What would they think would be the biggest change? First of all, I said, I think they'd be amazed at how little the lobby had changed in 100 years. But I think an ATM machine would throw them. I think that would throw them, because everything, of course, in 1916 was done by hand labor. And he said, well, what do you think the next board of directors find interesting? I said, I think they're going to be confused when they see gold coins and currency, because they're not going to know what it is. I think you're going to see paper currency and coins disappear, and it's going to be electronic in 100 years. So, thank you again, all, for coming out. I think I've thanked everybody I should thank. Who's doing the refreshments this morning? Longfellow. So let's have a round of applause for Longfellow. As you know, Steve is also on our board of directors. So he'll be on his best behavior today. And at this point, I would like to just break. Charlie, do you have some final comments? No? Okay. Good move. So again, thank you so much for coming out. Come and enjoy. Watch what. Take a look at what we found in the box. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you.